Well, hello, Shiny Crafty People. It's Tim Totten here, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here at my local Joann fabric store. You really can't see it from the background, but there are signs up that say the last 14 days. So they are getting ready to close out this location. This was actually one of the 300 of the 800 locations that they had. It was one of the 300 that they were going to keep open after their initial plan to close 500 stores. And then, of course, they decided to close all 800 of them. So this is a pretty big, popular store. I'm excited to see inside what they have, what they've been aggregating from other stores, and whether it's just wall-to-wall fleece and yarn like it was in Madison, Wisconsin. So I'm going to go in here to the store in Tavares, Florida, and see what they have for this last 2 weeks. And because this is my Joann fabric store, the one I've been coming to for a long time, I'm hoping it doesn't get too emotional. Let's head inside.
So right off the bat, they've actually got some pretty big sales on some things, but not a lot on those shelves. Sorry, my voice is really bad. I've gotten sick since I recorded the video. 60% off of keepsake cotton fabrics. And actually what was nice is they had a lot of fabric available. Of course, you have to buy a 2-yard minimum cut, but hey, not a huge problem if you find fabric you like. And yep, there was the fleece. Found a whole bunch of it. I mean, this is not all of it that I'm going to see, but there was definitely some fleece. And then, of course, plenty of other quilting cottons. Like that's all on the left is all quilting cotton, and the stuff on the right is fleece, but there's a lot of other good stuff. There is some of my favorite batiks, so I'm looking forward to going back in. There's still 2 weeks left, so I'm probably going to head back in when there's about a week left or so. And they had plenty of other apparel fabrics too. I was actually surprised. Here's 80% off of fleece and fur. That's a really good price, but when you look at all the fleece they have, it makes sense that it's on such a sale. I mean, the fleece just continues. I was really concerned this is what my store was going to be full of, but the truth is there's a lot of fleece available, and maybe, just maybe, I'll make sure I go in and buy some stuff that I can make some little blankets or something for family. Now, they did have other stuff, this Super Snuggle, which is sort of like a soft vinyl, or sorry, not vinyl, flannel, which was actually quite nice. And it's not, they haven't raised the prices. There's just the original price, and they're giving 60% off of that. Again, you have to buy at least 2 yards. I expect that savings to go a lot higher, closer to 80 or 90%, but then they'll be asking people to buy the entire bolt. They had lots and lots of these kits, of these no-soap throws, which I never loved, but they're available. Knit fabrics, lots of apparel fabric actually at this store. So if you're anywhere near Tavares, Florida, and you want to get some really good apparel fabrics, there was actually quite a lot still available. I was absolutely surprised what was available, including some solids and other things. And of course, all of the really amazing velvets. I mean, this stuff is not cheap normally, so getting it at 60% off is actually finally a good deal. It wasn't that good a couple of weeks ago, but obviously they really want to get this stuff out of the store. And a lot of other materials as well, lots and lots of stuff that's like ribbed stuff that has all the elastic in it. I can't remember the name of it right now. And then, of course, a lot of tulle and other kind of fabrics. Now, even stabilizer and interfacing, they had quite a lot of it still on the shelf. And at 60% off, that's approaching a pretty good price. With so much of it, I might actually work to go get some soon in about a week. These really nice sort of flannel designs that were actually really nice, and I think probably could go a long way if you were looking to make like a flannel quilt. Would be pretty good at 60% off. And more apparel fabrics. I was actually really surprised there was this much still on the shelf, but I think they've been bringing a lot of stuff from the warehouse and from other stores into this one. This is one of the more popular Joann fabric stores in Central Florida, and I can see them bringing a lot of stuff in here. And some jeans, denim stuff, I was really impressed that was still available. And there's a lot of options, even stuff up to 70% off, which is pretty good when you think of how close we are to the end. We're still 2 weeks out of them closing up, and even them having 80% off of some items already. I can see that really going up. 80% again here on this other materials. I was really impressed by that. Well, there's some more of that fleece. Now here, their home deck fabrics, I was a little surprised at first there was so little on this one side. Luckily, I went around the other side. Now look here, completely all of it gone. These racks were for sale, by the way. And there is a little bit more on the other side. They're 80% off of that. and you do have to buy, I think, either the whole roll or something. Now, what they do have a very large amount of was still quite a lot of pillow forms. I didn't find any loose batting, and I needed not loose batting, but loose stuffing. I needed some to make my next project. So I actually looked at like this Polyfill Basic 16-inch was $10.99, and I want to tell you that works out to $4.40 after the discount. This one has memory foam in it, and they marked it back up to $24.99, making it basically a $10 pillow form. That's not real cheap. What was a good deal, I think, are these patterns. These are 80% off, and they're basically all $19.95 of their listed price, which makes them about $4 each. And all of these cabinets were completely full. They are, of course, selling these cabinets, and I thought that was actually a pretty good deal. They still have the catalogs out, so it would be easy to go find quite a few. Now, in other parts of their store, there's so much missing. Like all of the notions are pretty much gone. There's almost nothing left. So it's kind of crazy to go into the store where I always knew where to pop in and get something, and all of a sudden the shelves are just completely empty. Empty shelves. I was surprised though, the minute I went past this, look at this, there's zippers for all day long, and they are 60% off, which I think is actually a pretty good deal. I think some of this might be the fact that you can buy huge packs of zippers online for a lot cheaper. And of course, both sides have zippers like crazy. I'll probably stock up on these when it gets closer to the end of this sale. Of course, there's also cutting sewing tools. I did look online to see how much a 2-pack of blades. This is basically going for $10 after the discount. That's not terrible. This cutting mat was 24 by 36. It's priced here at $64.99, and that comes out to a discount of about $26. You can get those online for $32, so actually it's a little bit of a discount. This smaller one, it works out about $10. They're about $18 online. And this Fisker's integrated cutting piece is like $74.99. That's about $30, and they're about $44 online. So that wasn't terrible. I did like the fact that their thread was available, although they look like they had repriced a lot of this cone thread, and I never really bought any of this in the past couple of years, so I don't know if this is a normal version they had. They did have lots of rickrack and a decent amount of rickrack and bias binding tape still available. So most of it was listed at like $2.99, which of course, when you take 60% off, is actually pretty cheap. And lots of thread actually still available. I mean, much of it's been picked over, but still plenty of options available. And what I like is they didn't go through and reprice all of this thread. This thread has still got the regular prices listed. Now, of course, always whenever I bought thread at Joann's, I waited till it was on sale, or I waited until I had a coupon. So the prices were already a little bit high, but it's not that big of a deal. And they had a lot of options. So if you're looking to stock up on thread, it's not a bad way to go when there's so much already still on the shelf. Now, they did have this whole section of Velcro, and this was a brand that I had never heard of before. So when I saw the Velcro on sale, they had a 1-inch wide Velcro that was on selling 6 feet of it for $16.99. That works out to about $3.40 after the discount. Well, you can buy it on Amazon for about $4 for that same piece, or you can buy a whole lot more for a lot cheaper. Now, they brought in some other stuff. They got plenty of like boxes and other stuff left. These little pieces that I'm sure they sold before, but maybe they brought some in as well. And they, of course, have their spring decor, which interestingly enough is 60% off, which frankly isn't much cheaper than they normally had. And of course, lots and lots of paper. All of this on sale for 60% off for the loose pieces of paper. I mean, it's fun if you want to grab this up. This was 60% off, and it's normally $20. So you imagine you can get this for, $8. So that's pretty good for those. I like those a lot anyway. I used to do origami and stuff with that. Now, there had way too many of these like coconut husk pieces, so much that they have a manager special. You can get one for $3, or you can buy 3 or more, and they're only $1 a piece. I think they're really trying to get these out of their warehouse. Who knows where they came from? And they had some pretty good Cricut and other vinyl, and that could be a good price. I have no idea. What they had plenty of all over the store was fleece and yarn. There was yarn everywhere. In fact, I thought I would count the boxes of yarn, and then I realized there was so much of it, because it wasn't just this at the very front of the store. It was going down the aisles of the store. It was on the end caps of the store. It was all over the place, and there was yarn after yarn after yarn. And then that doesn't count the actual area of the store where they would normally have yarn. So they had this yarn piled up in the middle of the store. And then they had it, let's see, we're going to go around the corner here. We're going in the empty aisles here where there's almost nothing. That's where all the other craft stuff was for a part. But then you get into the section where there's yarn on the end cap. And I don't know where this yarn came from. Because I don't remember them having 5 or 6 end caps of yarn in the past. And, I don't know, is $4.80 a good price for that? But piles of yarn, look at this. And there's even more as you go around. Lots and lots of that available. And I just kept thinking, who is doing all of this crocheting and knitting? Well, at least it's all available. So if you're a yarn buyer, get yourself to your Joann store. The odds are that they overstocked all that stuff. And of course, all the fixtures are for sale.
So that was an interesting experience. You'll see it just says there's 14 days left. I didn't expect it to be quite so emotional. Let's see if I can get some light. Quite so emotional to be going to my own local Joann fabric store for the last time. It's weird because I've been coming here for as long as I've lived in the area, almost 20 years now, and it's been my go-to fabric store. In fact, when I first was starting my company in the first 5 or 10 years of our company, we came and ordered most of our fabrics for our company right here at this Joann fabric store. And in fact, we were a pretty big amount of their sales after a while. We've since moved to wholesale cut. It was interesting to see some really good sales finally, and I expect they'll really ramp that up in the next week or two. And after that, we'll see what happens. Bye for now. Wow. Now I need an ice cream or something to make me feel better.